It's you.
Hey, it's the Bullcritter's Corner. We're doing Coffee with Bullcritter's Corner. This is Steve.
And this is John. Thank you for joining us.
And we're just going to sit down and have a little bit of a conversation. Today, I think we're going to touch on...
War movies?
No, organizations within your world.
Organizations within my world.
Anything as simple as the local Thieves Guild, up to some of the most organized religious sects, and then back down to city guards or organizations that exist in higher fantasy settings where you have trouble with adventurers going haywire. And the need to have people out there that can actually check overpowered people has to exist.
Well, I think what I think of orders and organizations in D&D, one of the first things I think my mind just went to is this idea of instead of like a high, like you go to like the things you listed, you got the Thieves Guild, and you've got the Order of those Mages, and the Order of the Blue Thumb, or whatever it is, and you can flesh things out. One of the things I think could be interesting, and it's not as approachable for the players necessarily. Like if they pursue it, it would be something that they could develop out with you. But things like, you have bard colleges. Well, what about an organization of traveling poets? Like you can look into human history and find certain groups and things that could be very interesting. Like you got Keats and Shelley and all these other people that's kind of what they were. And so you could have like organizations of background or tertiary pieces that you might not even know those orders existed had the players not pursued some avenue, and then they could uncover.
Yeah, something like artist troupe or smaller not contingencies, but coalitions of certain craftsmen. They're not really a crafting guild so much as a loosely organized group.
Well, the idea being like, what is the order for? Usually, what is the order for is to help to flesh out the campaign setting so that but also to drive purpose for why certain events occur, and to have organizations that might be doing larger things of epicness that the characters might skirt around as they level up or be directly involved in. What I mean to say is,
how's it going?
An even more tertiary
machine. Oh, you shot a YouTube link. You're probably a bot.
Poo machine.
Is it poo?
Yeah. Anyway,
poo-poo.
But instead of like these things that they might get in tertiary, so instead of an order that is trying to find the ancient tome of the thing for the dragon and all that, something that's very bland, actually. That's more of a human, or a character interaction development.
Build
and then
your world.
You tie in maybe to something larger.
Part of
later.
it could tie into something later, and you don't need to have that tie the moment you create it.
Yeah, well, the thing is the players technically are on an epic adventure no matter what. I mean, you don't get to level 20 unless you're doing
some really crazy,
epic, insane things.
But you know what? Like you were talking about the poets, right? Let's say there is this little traveling contingent or order called an order.
Yeah, it could be across an entire country, and you have little small sects here and there.
Now we're talking about these poets. One of those poets happens to know a particular version of an ancient rhyme. And that ancient rhyme, the players have found out, okay, we've got 5 different versions of it with 5 different clues. And we need the right clue to open this door.
Yeah, that would be a great way to put it into a dungeon. So in the Patrick Rothfuss book I've been trying to get you to read now for some time, The Name of the Wind, one of the things that's done in that is the primary antagonist is this ancient group of, we're not even sure in the book yet, series. But the parents of the main character are gathering pieces of their story because they're bards, and so they're gathering anywhere they can get, like pictures on vases and anything they can pull so they can build a song. And it's literally the sharing of that knowledge that causes them to coalesce and to destroy. Because they don't want to be known, because by being known, it means they're susceptible to the weaknesses being found out and things. Like if your enemy doesn't even know you exist, you can't be attacked. You can't be prepared for it. You can't. And so as soon as anybody throughout history starts stumbling upon that information, they come and just murk them out. And so I don't know. The reason I was thinking things like poetry or something that
well,
like all the king in this area I have different court poets or things. There's small things that you wouldn't even think about. I don't know. I was just trying to think like how can you go to
poets are actually like
disregarded things. You know?
They are disregarded, but they're actually very useful. So you mentioned one of their uses, and this is not just poets, but it'd be poets and the type of artistry that would present itself
as lore,
not just in courts, but also in a more public and more mundane manner. So, since you have traveling troops, like in our world, our traveling troops are the halflings.
Yeah.
Now, we built some history for them, but the other thing that's going to become a benefit, if that traveling troop happens to be in a town that's currently having problems, and then your group shows up and does a bunch of heroic things, you can either hire them and be like, hey, can you let people know about us? And the other side of that is, instead of having them do that, maybe they just are so impressed with your actions and they start spreading. You need to either go to lots of places and do lots of fantastic things and hope that the peasantry spreads the word, or you need to get someone to spread that word for you.
Yeah, but I'm talking about using them as an order. See, like that's what you can do in any game. Use the poet, use the bard to spread the fame and all that. I'm saying it like actually create ordered characters of these bards, these people that would be spreading that, and create these character relationships with them.
Oh yeah, well,
and then finding a way to tie them back into that.
It becomes more interesting when you do it, when you create a character, so the players can be like, "Oh man, we just saw Bilbo again."
Like yeah. Well, what I mean is something like this. Okay, so you have fences, right? And thieves can't, and these are all known things. And what do your player do? He comes into the game and goes, I'm going to look for the local thieves guild. How many players have you had do that?
Everyone.
Yeah.
How are you going to look for it?
Well, I'm going to use my thieves can to look for thieves can symbols all over the town until I find them, and I'm going to unfold that.
Okay. So are you familiar with the Order of Steam's Thieves Cant?
Well, no, I'm not trying to get into you finding a way to limit that interaction.
Okay.
What I'm trying to say is, imagine that in a town, before you even get to somewhere that somebody might really feasibly think there is a Thieves Guild, you come across the Bakers Guild. Or like in Kingdom Come Deliverance, they're all milliners. The milliners are the fences. But the guys who pound grain are all the fences, which apparently is historically decently accurate, like from what I understand. That was like quite surprised. But I'm like, so imagine you had just a baked goods guild. Like, they're bakers. They're seemingly innocuous. And the only way you're going to find out they're not innocuous and have some kind of epic line is if you interaction for no reason other than to interact.
I like that, okay.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. Like these things that are like that's why I said poets.
You're adding an extra layer to the mundane, and even though it's an extra layer, it's a mundane layer that kind of hides this extra. Yeah, I like
and so
that.
So it creates this environment where it's like, oh, there's so much fantastical, but also there's so much overtly ordinary that there's no reason to. There's no reason to not interact with any given thing that you're in the world with.
Giving your players the cause by having something ready, having things prepared to make even the most mundane things seem real.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to get at. It's creating a layer where something that you might have dismissed earlier. Why? Because it's not going to be part of the main game. It's not part of the role-playing game that we're playing. So we don't need to worry about that guy in the market stall. But you found a way to play it out where actually this guy in this, seemingly innocuous market stall is actually part of this organization of market vendors, and they have this, you know what I mean? Like, oh, later when you need to smuggle something, actually these people do a lot of great smuggling, but they're on the low about it, and even thieves don't know about it because they're in their own thing, and you wouldn't even that you take out of the realm of the classic.
Yeah.
You know, you find new poets rather than
it's outside of the box thinking, which
can really miss though too, because if you have
miss.
players that are so into that rote, well, I'm gonna go and I'm looking for the Thieves Guild.
Yeah.
Well, imagine if you find the Thieves Guild. Okay, so the Thieves Guild, like, when was the last time a DM went to the guy and said, oh, yeah, you're able to find him? You show up? Yeah, no, it's about 4 dudes in their 40s. They're sitting around, and 2 of them are drinking coffee, one's got a tea, and one's kind of early drinking beer. And what are they doing? They're just talking about, I don't know, boasting and you know, this and that. And you go like, oh, well, I need their aid for this or that, and they're just useless. They're just people who got into the guild because at this point in time it's almost like a union. Well, their dad was in and their brother was in, and so they did the time they needed to when they were younger. And they don't give a crap. They're resting on their laurels completely. Their network is like, imagine a Thieves Guild whose Thieves Guild network is actually poor. Like, it's really built poorly. Yeah. No, you don't ever see that. It's always
like, it seems like I'm gonna go to the local Thieves Guild, and you show up and it's like, well, there's a fence, and there's a place to train, and there's a lockpick expert, and there's like 15 dudes just sitting around that seem like they're fodder for hire.
Yeah, and so imagine then if like, oh, you went to the baked good place, and you found out that actually they do really good contraband transport. Why? Because they bury it inside of all their baked goods in the back of wagons. Oh, well, you need a lockpick? You're not going to find it here. This is what they do. And it's not all in one big thing that's efficiently run, because when does that actually happen? Yeah. Like, so why is it that your kingdom is falling apart and is beset upon all sides, but the Thieves Guild's running like clockwork? That order of mages is running like clockwork. They're not a despondent set of mages that don't work together and hate each other and are vying for power. They're all, we're the Order of the Blue Thing. You're here. Oh, here, put in the logbook, and you come right in. We got studies for you.
I think if you're going to take the time to build out any sort of organization, be it as simple as just the Baker's Guild, or as complicated as a religious sect or order of mages.
Yeah, something that's worldwide.
The internal conflicts are just as important as the things that tie to the grander story. Because let's say, just for shits and kicks, you guys go to the Elemental Way. That's the mage college that I have, right?
Okay.
And you guys are going there because you want to get some magic items. The first blocking step you come across is you need to actually be a chartered member of the guild or the school. And they're like, well, you don't have to have gone to school here. You just have to pass this test. But then after you do all that crap, you're like, actually, all I needed was a necromancy spell. And they're like, we don't do that.
We don't have spells. What do you mean? We just study the history of magic.
Oh, yeah, I mean, that's not that one. But yeah, that would be an interesting twist, too.
Who are you people?
Yeah.
But I get, yeah. Like,
but no, but then the other thing is you could end up going and talking to one dude and then be like, just subtly drop the, well, actually, we're looking for that dance macabre. You got that?
Yeah, right. Like you do like what I did when I was off at college. You're like, who's the creepiest person in the room?
Yeah.
Oh, he's the necromancer.
He's the necromancer.
Who's the one who always wears black with an eyeliner? Oh, over there? Okay. Hey.
But either way, no. So you end up talking to the guy, and then he's like, well, I mean, I might, but I'm gonna need you to. You see Freddie over there? Freddie's cramping my style. You need to go fuck up his laboratory. What?
Yeah. I'm petty.
No. You don't hurt him. Just go.
I'm just petty.
I'm petty.
Not an asshole.
But then they can look at that internal conflict and they might actually decide, well, shit, let's go talk to Freddie real quick and find out what kind of person Freddie is. Then they go talk to Freddie and they find out actually he's a great guy who spends his entire time making healing potions to give out to the poor.
And that's when that chaotic evil guy goes, the perfect time for my character.
Yeah. But creating those internal conflicts, like with the Baker's Guild, not even taking the underlying aspect into account. Like, the underlying is awesome and can still be there. But you end up running into the guy and he's like, that jackass across the city, he makes better rye than I do. That's not acceptable.
Yeah, like almost like mafia. Like, look, I don't want to do anything, but I can't afford. Like, we need to burn his. You need to burn his place down if you want me to transport this human cargo across this state.
You know. And of course, those are more aggressive. But
right?
maybe I've gone with bad relations. Maybe in this instance, it's like, actually, my buddy across the way has been having trouble with some people, and I can't help. I just don't have the ability to help him. But you guys, you came to me, and you're asking something of me, and I can handle that. But if I'm going to handle that, you need to handle this.
Yeah. You can always find a way to hook in the story, like here or there. But for some part of it, like that came to me when you mentioned it, like some part of it really makes me go, man, the monotonous could be so glorious in that sense. Like, because how many times, like when I was talking about running D&D, so I want to find a way to make it fresh again for players. Like, how many times have you went to the Mage's Tower or the Order of the Mage, the Order of the religious big sect, and that was the story, that was the things, the pieces that are there. It's never like, it's never these smaller, mundane things that magic and craziness are found inside of. It's always the epic, crazy magic thing.
Yeah, it's always the epic, crazy magic thing because it's easier to sell.
Yeah.
But the thing is, if you get
real. Or more, maybe not real, but more attached to the real world.
Depending on your players, of course,
and what they want.
In any of this, it comes down to the players involved.
What the players want.
By making the mundane actually have purpose, have some meat to it, you do build immersion.
And that can backfire because they can ask about every single person ever.
They can. But if you've decided to go to that length already, if you're trying to make your world that immersive, you have that. You have it ready.
Yeah.
And for those little bits and pieces that you may not have had prepared, that's where your improv skills as a DM will always be tested, because your players, if you take 2 months to prepare for a session, guarantee you, even if you railroad 110%, somewhere in there, they will ask a question that you didn't think about.
Yeah,
they will do a thing.
Magic and glory of four.
No, that is the glory of it.
Because if no one did that, somebody, like, there'd be no point in life anymore, living. We might as well hang it up, because then every idea anybody else can have, I can have too, as long as I sit here long enough and think about it. And that's not what the magic of life is. It's our magic of D&D. It's the magic of D&D, and then role-playing is us sitting and sharing, having a shared immersive experience, where we have a little.
I'll be honest, as a DM, I think one of the best parts for me, if I prepared a very thorough story or if I'm winging it, it's always seeing the way you guys react.
Well, I mean, that's all you have to watch.
Well, I mean, it is all I have, but the thing is, like, I've known some DMs that will create a story, and they'll run the exact same story for 5 or 6 groups, and sometimes they'll do it just to see how different reactions play out, which I think that is the more appropriate version of this example. Another one
just wants to see the story play out the way they want to.
Well, the thing is, another one has run it and then will purposely make little tiny changes just to do exactly what you said. Actually,
I want the outcome to be what I want it to be.
Yeah, and I think that's a little bit.
See, it can be good because it's like a directing a movie or something, but that's one meet. Like, I'm expressing my story to you, not we're sharing and building a story together. So that would be something a DM would literally have to go down and go, like, this is my story, guys. I have a story. You guys can experience it, but that doesn't really make sense, because then what about their story? They're part of the story. And there's no point in playing. If I'm on that much of a rail, there's no point in playing.
Another part that didn't make sense to me with the individual that I'm talking about, in this instance, he ran that same game with at least one player, having been in like 4 different instances of it. I'm like, if you're going to run literally exact same without doing any changes,
you gotta get a new group. because eventually you're kind of putting one player in the same seat the DM is, which is I wonder how everybody else is going to react to all of this.
Yeah.
You know.
I was like, that's really, it's robbing.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was going to say, because also, well, I mean, that player could play a totally different character and re-experience it, but even with that, the problem is
he knows the bullet points.
Yeah, he's going to have knowledge, and his character will subconsciously even act a certain way, knowing things are coming up. And that's if they're a mature player. It'll be subconscious. If they're not a mature player, it'll be conscious. They'll be like, I know there's a trap 2 doors down, and Billy's character's been a real dingus, and he took the thing I wanted, and we've been fighting a little bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that I find a way to convince Billy to walk with me to the front, and then I get out of the way for the trap that he'll hit when he walks into it. You know, like some weird kind of thing. And that's an immature play. That'll like, how can I use this whole thing to my advantage?
Yeah. No, it can turn into that.
You know, so. But back to orders. Going back to orders, I like the idea of something small, like innocuous, becoming something that could have access to the epic.
Yeah,
but there's nothing
definitely.
Wrong
but you know what?
with
I like
orders.
the idea of having a religious sect that doesn't have a cleric or paladin in it.
Yeah, how about a religious sect that doesn't actually have a channel to divinity?
Yeah, that doesn't have one of the actual gods.
Yeah, like it doesn't actually, it praises a false god, but it's very powerful.
Yeah.
Why not? I mean, when that's done, usually they just call it a cult, and automatically it's a bad guy you go to fight.
And
it's not like the thing that's embedded in all the nation's, religious things. I mean, just imagine that. Imagine like is that how does divinity work in D&D? You're more like can you make a god just by thinking about the god existing? Like Preacher, the TV show, where there's like 50 Jesuses because there's a Hispanic Jesus and a black Jesus and a white Jesus.
They've got a couple different ideas of how gods are made or how they exist, but usually like the kind of context that you're touching on where you'd have like multiples or first you have to be a person who becomes powerful. So you have to get to
I just mean if there's 200 people in a room or 2,000 or 1,000,000 and they all go, I believe in the flying spaghetti monster. Does the flying spaghetti monster coalesce in space and become a god?
Depending.
On how the cosmetology works.
It could. Because I was going to say, that's the other part of making that transition from just being stupid powerful to actually being like a demigod or a lesser god.
No, but it's something that doesn't exist.
Well,
out of thin air, it gets godded.
Faith could do that. But the thing is, if that many people are throwing faith into something, it's probably someone.
So there's an avatar of something. So that guy might be like, yeah, there's a flying spaghetti monster. But he's actually a dude who begins becoming an avatar of some sort of that god.
Yeah.
And so then the god comes into power, and then he's an avatar for a god that he created, which has got to be a weird relationship to be in. Like, I can destroy you, I am your god. Wait, but I made you by convincing people to believe in you when you didn't even exist.
It is a weird dichotomy of how it works, but usually the more traditional sense is something, be it a person or creature, something becomes powerful and acquires people giving faith to it.
Yeah.
Faith can be anything from, scared lip service to, downright honest to God faith.
Well, scared lip service still means I don't know, I guess no, seriously, I have to pray to you because if I don't, they'll come and burn my house down. So, hi, I hope you're doing well.
Or you can think of a god like Nerul, who's the god of death, or maybe it's Arithmal. One of those that is people know, not just the people who directly worship him.
Everyone knows it exists.
But people in general know you don't say the guy's name because to say his name is to invite death into your life. Like, the fear of that entity.
Yeah, see, that doesn't make logic to me. I think if I was a character at the time, and I'm me, but I'm in the D&D world, I'd be the guy going, that's ridiculous. So what you're saying is if I never say his name, death will never come. Oh, it's going to come anyway? Then blankety name,
Oh, it just means that it's definitely coming.
I just said it 5 times, so I guess the whole village is dead. Well, in fact, that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to go to my enemy's land, and I'm going to just say his name.
Yeah. No, when I say death is coming, it doesn't necessarily mean, for everyone around you.
No, what I mean is, I'm not going to, talk to my loved ones again. So there's no way I'd ever find out. So you can't kill me, my loved ones, because there's no point. I won't find out about it.
No, you're again going the wrong direction with it. I get where you're going, but it just means you die.
Oh,
You.
that's ridiculous.
You have drawn the attention. You die.
So otherwise, don't be the squeaky wheel gets the grease.
Yeah.
That's the God's motto. Squeaky
I
wheel.
mean, not so directly, but yeah.
I'm just thinking about that, and I'm like, man, that's kind of. So he just sits on his couch all day waiting for people to say his name so he can go kill him. Doesn't got nothing better to do.
No, he's got plenty to do. It's just, since nobody, not even the people who worship him directly, who gain power from him,
Yeah.
none of them say his name. The moment that the name is said, it's like you set off a giant radar beacon.
One person
And
might
he's
call
like,
that
"Homie."
hubris. Another person might just call that. I don't know. I guess so. The only way you would call his name is if you're despondent enough to want him to show up, or if you are like, this is BS. You know, Candyman, Candyman, Candyman. Oh look, nobody showed up.
That doesn't necessarily mean anything's going to happen. That's the general fear.
Yeah, the fear that causes faith.
Yeah. I'm sure there's plenty of people who go, wow, that's hogwash. But at the same time, how willing are you to say that's hogwash when the gods, not just him, but all of the gods, are making miracles literally happen in the world? It's not like in our world where miracles...
Have you seen have you seen his miracles occur? Well, people die, don't they? Well, yeah, but I mean... Okay, 1 second. I just killed Bill. Am I a god? I caused that. Like, that's not proof. I don't know what you're talking about here.
That would be more of an Arithmal thing,
Or,
who is the god of mindless slaughter, but...
well, no, because the conversation was about death. Bill is definitely dead. Whether I slaughtered him or not, right now, he is dead.
It's
So I'm just saying, like death isn't really the proof of faith you need as compared to, like, what happened? That God came down and with a bright light cured all the dead people and made them alive again. That's a lot more impressive than the city just died. I mean, that happens all the time. But again, if you're thinking about that world, half the time in the ancient times, that's what everybody blamed everything on anyway. The god of frogs made the frogs
come. But here's
come.
the thing, like, you're going, the city died. What you really should be going is, the city died, and then 10 minutes later, everyone in town got up and walked away.
Well, that would be creepy.
That's Nerul.
Oh. Why do they walk away? Oh, because he collects them or something?
Because they're undead now.
Oh.
The hater of life, he's going to,
Well, I would think that the undead is just a cheap imitation of life, so really it'd be like, well, shouldn't they just be dead? I'm just saying the rule. I'm just saying, like, they should be dead because living dead, notice it has the word living in it, and you hate life. So I think you're really just self-conflicted, and maybe, like, you should see someone, talk. Do you have anybody you need to talk to, Nerul? Like, is there anybody there for you to, like...
You're the kind
work
of
things out
smug,
with? Yeah.
You're the kind of smug player that gets himself, swatted like a fly.
This isn't fair. Yeah, no, this is how real life works. Actually, it would be very realistic. Wait, I talked back to the authorities and I got the crap beaten out of me? That makes sense.
Yeah.
What other? Can we think of any other unique things? Because everybody covers. We know how orders work. I mean, there's for sure there's people out there that don't know how orders work, but the concept of, like, there's stations in these large cities for the Mages Guild, and these ones have access to these three things, and this one has access to this, and this one has access to this, and this one's chiefed by this person, this person,
No,
this person. There's the relationship.
It comes down to a lot of the smaller, more mundane things. My thought process when I started the conversation, a thing that I very rarely see is organized guards in any form or fashion. Granted, a lot of these smaller towns should have, if anything, like militia, and they shouldn't be freaking 15th level fighters.
No.
There are DMs that are just ridiculous with their city guards. If I wanted to play an MMO where I can't do things in town without fear of
guards.
Yeah. Then I would just go play some MMO. At the same time, the DMs that do that do it because they're trying to
Keep an order.
keep an order, dissuade.
Players from going ape crazy and beating the crap out of everybody they want to see for no reason and turning it into a hobo rape fest.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, I understand
Murder hobos galore. But no, guard organizations or maybe something. Guards don't necessarily need the organization. Another idea would be maybe an investigators guild, like a group of people, kind of like your poets before, that go around and investigate weird shit. Maybe
Like
not
a
even
part
weird.
of the guard that is like devoted to.
Maybe
hey,
they're
we're
not.
the-
Maybe they're not part of the guard. Maybe they're some sort of a neutral entity. So they're in several different nations.
That's possible. Yeah. What I was thinking too is like imagine like a veterans organization.
A veterans organization, especially since you need to make a point of actually presenting that your governments have militaries. That's another thing. Even though there will be town guards, when was the last time you've ever seen a military camp?
Well, the only time I've ever seen those things are when they're like directly tied to the storyline.
Yeah.
Like, the war started between blank and blank. You see the armies pouring out of the town. Like it's like, but there was no. In the last week, there's been tensions, and you see soldiers starting to form in the town, and then no, it's like, oh, there's an army. Wait, what? Okay, they had an army. Not only was a standing army, they already had it. Where the hell was their standing army?
When you make decisions like having a standing army or talking about armies in general, you have to decide: is this the type of nation that maintains a standing army?
Is it a levy army? How does the levy work? I mean,
Yeah.
those can be interesting scenes. You remember Mulan?
Yeah.
Right, going from town to town, pulling the young boys and things like that. That's an entire role-playing scene right there that could be very interesting. Especially, like, imagine, like...
I've actually seen that used in a module before, where if the characters are in, or they do the standard tavern beginning where everyone's in the tavern but they're not together, and then all of a sudden a recruiter just comes in and like snakes up the party members.
Well, I mean, imagine this. The party members are... Like, I'm just going to set up a scenario real quick. So the party members are in support of this country A, during the war. Because they know country B is actually an evil country.
In their opinion.
Yeah, in their... No, I mean, like D&D terms.
Oh,
like, it's
actual evil.
It's evil.
Okay.
Right? And they're not. They're good. Neutral good, you know, kind of in that
Okay.
place. And so then they're out in some town, and they're witnessing a levy occur where somebody is, like, grabbing these folk and pressing them into service. And then, like, an older man runs out to prevent his son from going off, and they accidentally kill him. Like,
Yeah,
now the
that's-
play, you know what I mean? Like, put the players in this position of, like, in between two ideas that are conflicting to create that drama. And
That could be a interesting build of drama. A very interesting.
You know, like, oh, how do they do this? Well, but that's the thing, too, is one thing I find about some players and throughout time of role-playing is some will take that opportunity to, could I have done more to stop that old man from dying? And try to embrace feelings of guilt and psychological feelings that their characters might feel, and other people's just like, that's an event that occurred, we're moving on.
Yeah.
And there's a stark difference between the two play styles.
You have to feel out your players, and then the other side of that is, even if you have players that all would... If you have players that all could connect with that in that in-depth, like really story-based way, there's no guarantee that today, or in this session, or in this character, they're going to react that way versus with another character. So...
Well,
there's almost no telling. You can't guarantee one way or the other in the reaction.
Yeah, you can't set up thing like, well, that's when you put them in between two choices. You can't predict what the answer is going to be. You should just know drama should come from the choice that is made.
Yep. I believe that depending on what you're trying to present in your game, like, I've never done this, but I've heard other DMs talk about it. Write up a short, not like a synopsis, but a couple, maybe a paragraph, giving the idea of your campaign, like in a very broad stroke. The idea of your campaign, the general setting, And in that setting, you can set the mood. Like if you want there to be heavy racial tension between the dwarves and elves in your world.
So like a treatment for a campaign.
Yeah, like a treatment. You need to put that there, and you don't have to go hyper in depth. That's the important thing.
Like
don't lose yourself in trying to give a lot of information. Just give the basics. So that way, when the players come at it and they go, "I'm going to play a dwarf," they can go, is my dwarf going to be heavily racist, or do I have a reason why this dwarf in particular isn't?
Well, would you give that... I think I would just give that to a player. Here's the synopsis of the world. Why? Because this is what you'd know by the time the start of the adventure happens. You know what I mean? Like, this is the world that you're in. Like, I tried doing that with you guys before, though, and it just turned into, like, a cluster, because I was trying to say, like, you've never seen magic, and you're like, so we don't believe in magic. And I'm like, no. You think magic might exist, but you've never seen it.
Your presentation was
and all I was
poor.
trying to say was, like, you
think...
haven't seen real magic, but every now and then when, like, the farmer's crop caught blight, somebody said it was a curse from this person over here, and no one could
I think what you
that.
needed to do was actually write it up and read it yourself to make sure that the information that you were conveying was concise.
I thought it was pretty easy, because I pretty much also said it was like, it's like the medieval ages. You think about magic the way they did in the medieval ages, but there also is real magic you've never witnessed.
There are realms within D&D where that just kind of is hard to... Especially in our current edition where magic is...
Abundant.
It's harder to grasp onto that idea and be like, yeah, that makes sense. From a story element, if you take the game itself and its rules and mechanics out, sure, I can grasp onto that very easily.
If you take the rules and... if you take everything about the game out of the game, I could totally get why a world would do that.
No, I mean, as a presentation for a world,
yeah.
I get it. The problem is then you take and you put the overlay of 5th edition on top of your idea, and it just starts breaking.
I just said D&D in general. Like, I'm not... high fantasy role-playing setting with rules that are familiar to us. Why? Because if we can all agree to toss this rule or toss that rule or add this rule, then that's fine. Why? Because we're here in a shared experience.
Yeah.
I don't care what rule set I use. I mean, D&D just makes it easier to have that, so that we have the same language. It's all D&D is. I don't even think about it as rules so much as, like...
a very basic
It's our
guideline.
language. It's our language. Like, so pretty much like when I say the word, attack, everybody in the room knows what does attack mean. Oh, we're using 5th ed, so attack means rolling a d20 against their AC for this thing. Whereas if we're playing White Wolf, it's you're rolling your dice pool of, dex and...
You're taking a bunch
whatever,
of D10s based on
versus
2 separate
their
things.
dodge pool.
Yeah.
So, but attack is what's being used.
Yeah.
Because we're not thinking of, we shouldn't be thinking about the rules as much as possible, like a little as possible. We should be thinking about the rules if we have to while we're playing, because that's a step away from being in character. The most you can be in character and stay in character, the more you're going to get more out of being in character. So every time you have to fall back to like a rule set of that person who's in that character doesn't think about those rules. So they're two things that are opposed trying to happen in the brain at the same time. You know what I'm saying?
I do.
Like when an actor is going into a scene about like the blocking, he's not literally like if he's using method or trying to be in character, he's definitely not going, well, I need to walk to that X right there. No, he's established in the scene some reason for that X to be where he stopped.
Yeah.
And so he's looked at the set when he's at that X and he goes, oh, there's a tree out of that window when I get to this X. That tree's a little bit interesting to me. Oh, now that I got to the X, that tree's a bit interesting. I had a damn reason to stop there. Or this is where emotionally I get to when I feel like I need to drop these lines. Not like... Because if you think, I've got to walk 20 feet and then stop, I've got to turn left, I've got to say this line, and then I've got to turn right and say these, you're going to get out of the reason that your character's actually in the room in the first place.
Sure.
Which should be the reason for why those things are happening, not because the rules say so.
I get that. But then, before you can do anything like that, you still have to look at the rules to make your character.
Yeah.
So, what you're trying to do...
Well, no, not necessarily. You can do an entire rule-less game where only the DM has the rules. You look at me like it's impossible. So you're telling me right now, if I told you everything my character wanted to be, you couldn't make the character up without me having never seen the rules.
Not in D&D?
Yes, you can. You could literally ask me questions about my character and then make the character for me without me ever seeing the character sheet or learning the rules. Because all you're doing is making a character. So all you're doing is asking me what character I'm making and you're interpreting the rules. It's possible. I'm just saying. There's a whole style of play.
Okay. I can't argue with you on this one.
Yeah, I mean, it is, right? Possible?
It is possible.
Okay. And I wouldn't even think it's feasible. It's not
I think it's unfeasible because to play the game, which is also what we are doing, lacking the knowledge of rules.
Why?
You said lacking knowledge of rules.
Okay, so why?
Why? Because then...
Walk me through it. I'm about to blow your mind, man.
Blow my mind.
I want to attack. You know how all that works. You can make it happen.
Oh, I have to do all of it now.
Well, no, I'm saying it's feasible.
It's unreasonable.
We talked before about the DM using all the roles except for a few to make the character feel like... the player feel like they're interactive.
I can pre-generate a sheet and I still tell you to roll dice. Okay, yeah, we can do that.
Or
you're just taking a step further back. I get what you're saying.
Yeah, okay. So
but if I'm doing all of it already, I don't know. As a DM,
we're still providing
already...
the character. We're providing all of the things. I mean, it is work.
It is a lot more work. You got to remember the DM seat already has a lot of weight.
Well, that's why nowadays, apparently, looking at all the DM, being able to sell your services online and other things, just imagine DM Steve and his 3 assistants. This guy handles all this math. This guy handles that thing.
No, if you have extra, because here's the thing.
That would be dope.
If you ask me right now, what does a fighter's X ability do? I know some of them, but I don't know most of them. What does this spell do? Fucked if I know. I rely on my players not being douchebags and interpreting the rules correctly. Yeah.
You'd probably be more ineffective as a player without knowing all the intricacies of what your characters can do. But let's go back to First Ed for just a second and realize that you don't need all that to play and have fun in the game. You don't need 32 feats.
Okay, but you knew what your character did. That's the thing. You knew
what the 4 skills you were good at, which pretty much the conversation. Well, yeah, okay, so not even skills. Actually, you're right.
In that age, you had to understand that you can do a attack roll. You had to understand Thaco, and
but I still use skills in the game.
No, there were no skills.
So nobody ever climbed a rope in First Ed.
Yeah, make a dex check. The DM just said, "Oh, you're climbing the rope. Can you roll dexterity for me?"
And I bet you only said roll dexterity if he felt that,
it was necessary.
She felt that was necessary, and this is something a normal person would be able to accomplish.
That's how I normally run anything anyway.
Yeah, no, it feels like there's so much all the extra crud laid right on top of that I trust you enough that we can run the whole thing with all the skill sets that you would just be able to wing anyway.
The part that becomes cumbersome and is just making my head hurt, and you're telling me you're going to blow my mind, the only thing that you've done is made my brain melt down and start pouring out of my lower body, is the combat. It's the most complicated part, the most rule-intensive part, and the part that I only know my part of. I don't know most of the players' abilities. The first time that a cleric of, I think, the Grave told me, actually, I can negate your crit. I was like,
it would be a lot harder. It would be a lot harder than in 5th Ed to do something. But in First Ed, let's go to First Ed.
No, in First Ed,
you attack.
In First Ed, there wasn't very much there. Yeah.
Hit. I mean, you could do that if you could strip it down to the bare bones.
I mean, yeah, but at that point... Why run D&D? I've already said...
why not just sit 4 people in a room and play Imagination Land?
The thing is, I've already told you, your idea for that world, fantastic. Run it in any system but D&D.
Because it's too complex.
D&D has these rules, has these complexities, has the magic, and those are all... When I sit down at the table and I go, I'm playing D&D... I already have this thought process. There is magic. There are dragons. There are elves. These are things that intrinsically are in my brain when you say D&D. If you say, let's play Legend of the Five Rings, I go, okay, we're samurai. Even though there are Onis, not many people have seen them. They're more talked about and how terrible the taint is. And then let's switch gears. We talk about Vampire the Masquerade.
Well, that's the thing, though, like with D&D.
Like, nobody knows about... Go ahead, sorry.
I'm going to say, like D&D, no one knows what a beholder is. before beholders were made.
Sure.
When the first, like when the DM goes, I made a new monster, it's this thing.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So all I want to do for D&D is bring that back. And how do I do that? I strip all of it out and make it as mundane as possible for the players, and then slowly reel out the classics. Slowly reel out these, and make sure they're epic and image intensive when they happen.
The idea is great. I will continue to
But I don't
argue
see why
on the
not
point.
D&D. Why not, though? Use 5th Ed, D&D, or anything else for that particular
Because you're reducing play. I've had this conversation with you.
system. Yeah, but you came down on my side afterwards.
I said it'd be interesting to do. I said that it's possible. But at the end of the day, literally, you have to get the group of players who are willing to play either a rogue, a ranger, or a fighter, or a barbarian. Because that's what you've reduced us to.
Not really. See, because what I reduced you to is a set of humans that don't use magic. Because if you make a character and you're like seriously, in my mind, if you make a character and you go, "What am I playing?" I'm a rogue. No, you're a person. You should be developing the person who happens to be a rogue.
So again, you want a system that is classless, which I agree with you on. So go to a classless system.
None of the systems you're going to find are going to be as efficient as D&D and actually getting the thing done you need to get done, or balanced
White
as
Wolf.
well. Well, yeah, but I am
White Wolf Dark
pained
Ages.
to try to think about how to transfer White Wolf magic. See, this is the problem. Now that I have revealed magic to you. You're at this level, and now you have magic. I'm screwed. White Wolf will not work. It will not work. The system will not work. The dot system
just
won't.
go and steal literally the entire book of magic that is created just for the frickin' Tremere. There is almost as huge of a gamut of spells available to you and rituals that will cover not all of the spells of D&D, but it will generally build what you need to still be able to do exactly what you're talking about.
I also want to build spells with players.
Which
I think
you
that's
can
another
do
thing I always
within
thought would
that.
be
That's
better.
what
if
the
somebody,
rituals in that particular game are.
And find a way to balance that, But also I find the White Wolf combat very cumbersome.
Really?
Yeah, because you can either choose to dodge or not dodge. There's no like static AC that exists. So then everybody starts splitting the dice pools, and so then it's like I'm doing math on my dice rolls, so where I'm going, okay, well I can do like 17. I'll do 4 here and I'll do 3 here, kind of thing. And it's like, I don't know, it just seems a bit more complex in a way than D&D can be. Because D&D can be very simple when it comes to combat. Swing,
I mean,
spell,
the
dead,
splitting the spell
splitting
the dice pool. I mean, it's not complicated though. It really isn't. If you are going to attack and hold the action for you to also try and dodge this turn, you look at your dice pool and you go, my attack pool was 6 dice.
I'm going to take 2 out.
I'm going to take 2 off. Yeah.
No, I meant the math and trying to determine what your opponent has and therefore what the best hold /
Well, that's the tactical portion.
Yeah, you don't really have to worry about that in D&D because you only have one option. Swing your D20.
Yeah. I mean, you're
Would
right,
you
but you're not really right. That's the melee option.
Yeah, do you want to use one of these 3
spellcasters,
abilities?
Yeah.
But
the other side of that is in D&D you have this, for certain characters, you have a plethora of options. The spellcasters, although it's not a matter of what dice I'm going to roll, it's I have 15 spells to pick from. Oh crap, what is the most practical in this situation? It's almost the same type of,
So I guess I don't know. I'm not familiar with the book of magic. I've never really played a Tremere, but revealing magic to the players, allowing them to use it, I would be using things I remember from like video game classics, like you have Pass Through Stone.
Okay.
Like that's probably a really high level spell, but really I'm probably going to be giving it to you at a lower level.
Probably be like a .3 ability. Or probably a level 3 ritual or something like that. The thing is, you can do it.
What level spell would be Pass Through Stone?
Oh, shit. I think that's like 4th or 5th level?
Really?
Yeah.
Never was higher than that? That seems a little low for that.
Hmm.
Well, no, that's like a 7th level character, though, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's about right, actually.
Yeah.
7th or 8th,
But there's an even lower level one. It's not so much your ability to just walk through a wall, but it's your ability to sink into one and chill there. And
mine was pretty much the idea that like if there was a hole on the other side of this wall, you can get to that hole.
Yeah, no,
Pass-through stone.
pass-through stone. I'm saying there's a lower level version that lets you dip into a wall and hide in there for a period of time and then come back out.
Yeah, but see, I probably wouldn't introduce any of those things unless somebody, like, you know what I mean? Or maybe like, oh, you pass through, that's part of pass through stone. Like when you're first learning it, that's what you can do. You can't pass the whole way yet.
I get what you're saying. Again, I like the idea of what you're delivering. I just think honestly, with what you are trying to deliver, a classless system sells it better. It really does.
But it ends up being high magic and all that, and high fantasy.
Yeah, eventually, and you can still present that with a classless system. The beauty of the classless system is, if I start as a fighter, my ability to transition into the awesomeness of your story doesn't actually hamper me being a fighter. In D&D, if I'm a fighter, and then eventually you go, well, you can become a wizard, I go, well, fuck, my character's got an intelligence of 11. I can't do shit as a wizard. I'm dumb as a brick.
What are you talking about? Like, okay, so real quick. So you're telling me right now, if you trained in karate for the next 20 years and became a karate master, and then you found a way to do this and make fire light a cigarette, that wouldn't be awesome for you. You wouldn't use it. Oh, I don't want to learn that.
No,
I'm karate. What am I going to use that for? Again, see, you're using the glory and beauty of magic is lost because you're thinking about it as effectiveness and power and like stat this when really it could be like, well, no, you have the ability you learn this spell that's useful in your role playing experience.
I was talking mechanics as a person without a 13 intelligence. You could never become a wizard.
Says the rules change.
Says the rules, and you can change the rules, and you're welcome to change the rules. But at the end of the day, since it still is also a game, it is not solely a role-playing experience. You will look at the mechanics, and at the end of the day, if my intelligence does not support becoming a wizard, then there's no real point in becoming a wizard. Your beauty of the system becomes much easier for me to embrace in a classless system where the transition doesn't hurt me. It only is cool and beneficial.
Well, see, I don't understand why you... I guess I can get what you're saying. I'm thinking of magic in my game, as it unveils to you as a classless portion almost, in a fashion.
Okay, you can do that, which can be cool, but then you are severely putting yourself on the back burner because the mechanics.
Yeah, I got to keep control of it. I know. That was my worry. No one even addressed that worry. My worry is, oh God, I gave them a spell. It's way too powerful for what they're doing.
And
right
actually,
now.
I've given out spells before. As long as you're careful with what you give out.
Yeah, and that's why I was like, I'll give out the important ones.
Well, no. See, here's the thing. It's actually
build things around.
Again, because of the way magic works, so it's weird. Like, let's say you gave them something.
Like everybody learned Featherfall.
Okay.
Your fighter knows Featherfall.
That's not so bad.
Oh, that's what I'm talking about. The classics, the ones that are really
spells.
utility, the ones that I'm not talking about like the actual mage, the guy who does have the intelligence, and he always wanted to be a mage, and he was obsessed with magic, and he finally realized magic exists. That's the guy that's going to go and build to the fireball.
Okay.
The guy, like the fighter, or these people, they might just be using things like Featherfall or grease, or these things that are utility and useful, and not in a penalty way. You got them through role playing; they're yours. You don't need to throw all your fighter levels at mage for no reason to get these things.
Okay.
Like, it's magic. It's it's wondrous.
I'll say that sounds interesting. Good luck on your part as a DM, because
of balancing
the utility spells are sometimes the most painful ones.
Pass through stone. I can only imagine how hard it'll be for me to design every single dungeon ever, in order to make it so that pass-through stone doesn't ruin the dungeon. Yeah, no, I get that. That's what my worry was. But none of the players I ever presented the idea to was like, are you sure you can balance it right?
Well, I mean, I have said that at least once. I know I have.
What, balancing the passing out and stuff?
I've said balancing in general.
Well, that's all. I mean, that's always a problem. I'm talking about really balancing the magic. It's going to be an issue.
Yeah.
That's why I was trying to find a way to make some magical stuff just main abilities for the main starter characters. Ranger, etc.
Yeah, again,
like-
just the concept. Literally, I've said it before. I'll say it again. You'll disagree, and I won't care because I also disagree.
Is Hunter's Mark a magic spell?
Yes,
See, that's why.
because it is.
It could be called Hunter's Focus, and it could be just the hunter like analyzing the prey and then going whack. Why? How do you say that? Because you can look at what is it magic in Star Wars? The Hunter's Mark?
Yes.
It's magic.
Yes. Yes.
So it's now magic in Star Wars.
There's always been magic in Star Wars.
No. You're telling me that the Ranger uses the Force to do Hunter's Mark in Star
No,
Wars.
he uses Fandazzle technology, which is magic.
He has to use technology to do it. So that's crazy too then, because now we've said that if I rip the face mask off of like the little visor guy or the bionic eye out of somebody, that then they lose all their abilities for their character.
I mean, you could go that way with it, but that's...
EMP. Everybody's magic's gone. I hope you don't have a wizard.
EMP. You mean anti-magic field?
Well, yeah, but I'm saying
technology is just magic, depending on how you deliver it, John.
Yeah, I can see anti-magic field, but that's what level is anti-magic field?
High level.
Yeah, EMP is like $400 in that Star Wars homebrew book.
I have no
It's
idea.
a big difference, and I bet you most people would be like, no, EMP doesn't actually affect things like Hunter's Mark.
I have no idea. I'd have to look.
I can only imagine it wouldn't.
It might affect technomancy, but that's the problem in that particular setting, since it is literally just a.
It was them trying to, exactly, find a way to fit that in. So I'm saying if they found a way to fit it in by calling it technomancy, why is it so bad for me to call it a natural ability?
Oh, it's not. But then you're really not pulling back magic. You're just reskinning it or recalling it something else.
Well, I had to pull back some of it that you cannot logically figure out a way for it to be something that would happen in the natural world. Whereas Hunter's Mark could be something that happens in the natural world.
So at like third level, when I get what is the entangling vines? Entangle. How do you cover that one?
What, as a ranger?
Yeah.
You get
Oh yeah. They get lots of spells.
Well, I thought it was druid.
No. That's ranger. It's ranger.
So the ranger in D&D can call up the magic of nature.
Yep.
Is that a new thing?
No.
3/5 they could entangle.
Yes.
So that could be explained a couple different ways, I guess, but really not without a combat scenario occurring.
So again,
when
I keep saying you're really reducing your game to 3 classes, I'm serious about it. At the beginning of your game, which I don't have a problem with that personally, but I can see how it will be incredibly difficult for you to sell it. I mean, even when we talked to Joey about it, he's like, well, you literally can't play anything other than fighter, rogue, or barbarian. I want to play something other than those 3 things. And personally, I don't care. My primary go-to when I play the game is fighter. So for me, I said, it sounds cool. I'll play fighter. And then you asked me, well, why is your character fighter? And I said, my character was a farm boy with fantasies of high adventure, and he used to swing sticks at frickin' trees while holding a barrel top as a shield. Is that reasonable? Yeah, tons of kids do it. They still do it today. I'm sure they did it back then. Is it reasonable that you
became a level 1 fighter that way? You're supposed to be heroic. So the idea for me is you don't have to have a reasonable. I like the reasonable for why you wanted to become a fighter.
Okay, why I wanted to become. How my character actually became a fighter.
Inspire.
I mean, the thing is, if you're a fighter, it kind of means that either you served in the military, you trained somewhere, you did something that brought you from being a person who's just swinging a stick.
Yeah, and that's what I was looking for, because when you gave me I'm swinging a stick in the woods, it felt very dismissive. Like, I didn't really think about all the levels it would take for me to become a level 1, like an actual traveling, ready-to-go fighter person thingy.
I didn't know enough about your world to really fill that answer out.
You didn't ask.
I didn't. I gave you something that really was the basis for someone who would have eventually gone that direction.
Yeah, which is why eventually I was like, okay, well, I can work with that and move it towards that.
But the thing is, what about the guy who wants to play sorcerer or warlock or a cleric?
Okay.
None of those are options anymore.
In this world, like, for instance, cleric.
Mm-hmm.
I can say you are a person that
has cantrips.
Either is or is not a cleric, but those cantrips, things like the heal one or whatever, or even level 1 spell. Like, you get a level 1 spell, right? Cure light wounds. You apply bandages in a non-magical fashion that heal, like that restores this. Why? Because their blood stops and it coagulates, and more blood builds up in their body, and they begin to get their thoughts back, and oxygen starts rushing back to all their organs.
No, that's the description, but the thing is, he has magic.
No.
No?
Why not? He is trained in the ability to do this.
I didn't take healing.
What?
I didn't take the healing
Then
skill.
what kind of cleric would that?
No. I have the spell for healing.
No. I'm asking in a character creation sense. What kind of cleric are you then? Are you actually just a religious person?
Probably.
Okay, then you're probably a fighter or something. If you didn't take healing, I'm just assuming.
So I didn't take the healing skill, so I can't be a cleric. I'm back to being a fighter.
What I'm trying to say is, if your character was somebody who healed and magic doesn't exist, one would have gotten there through healing.
Okay, so now you've hyper complicated character creation because it's now still a classless system that you're going back to, and you've reduced us to fighter, rogue, barbarian.
No, I'm saying like if you were happen to be no, I'm a cleric. I'm a cleric, and we work at Paylor, and I happen to be a cleric that doesn't carry around a mace and collect taxes from people. I actually tend to wounded. Okay, well, through your years of learning how to tend to wounded, you've gotten so good at it that you now have access to the ability to do.
What about the cleric of Hextor, who's a giant douchebag who can still pick up the cure light wounds?
See that? You know why that's in the game in the first place?
Because it's a spell.
No, to create balance so that the parties don't die. That's the only reason. Dead serious.
Okay.
The cleric of wanting everybody to die also can cure light wounds.
Yes, he can heal his allies. It makes sense.
He wants everybody to die.
No, he wants to control everyone.
It just seems to me like for instance, there's a life domain, right?
Sure.
Then why isn't it that you had to be in a life domain to get cure light wounds or cure wounds? Or a healing domain of any sort.
Standard spell.
Staple. Yeah. Why is it standard and staple?
Because it's standard to all clerics.
I said why?
Why?
Because if it wasn't there, parties couldn't heal, and therefore the game would be 10,000 times harder. Sure. So they just said, you know what, the healing spells we're going to give to everybody. So what I'm saying is, if you're a cleric of Hextor, and you're the guy in Hextor's group that goes around healing the guys from Hextor, his allies, then yes, you've gotten so good at healing, you now can heal.
Okay, so now you're going to make me go through each one of the spells and look for skills that are associated with them. Unfortunately...
No, just character reasonings for why you have them.
Unfortunately, with the background attachments... No, well, you've already attached a skill.
No,
now,
I haven't attached it.
I've
attached that you have to have been somebody who was rendering aid for a long time to get this, which just happens to mean that you would have that skill had you been doing that. Which is really like White Wolf, how that works. You have to explain why you got to where you got.
But we're not using White Wolf. We're using D&D.
Yeah.
So now you have forced me to use one of my very limited skill proficiencies. Yeah. It's not skill points.
Your proficiencies.
And I probably only have 3 or 4 of those, but now you've keyholed one of them to healing.
Well, if you want Cure Light Wounds.
Okay, well, what if I want Bless? Do I need Knowledge Religion for that?
Is Bless a level 1?
It's a first level spell.
I would have to assume... I'd have to look at the spell list and see if Bless was the most religious appropriate one.
It allows you, by the blessing of your god, to add a D4.
Okay, that seems like something everybody should be able to have access to. That is a cleric.
Okay.
Why? Because divinity does exist.
Okay.
You just don't know it does. And so for you to have Bless... you'd have to have a level of cleric, which means that you would have to be so tuned to the idea that divine exists that you're not just a worshiper, like one of the many clerics of this church. You're actually a cleric of the divine being.
You're explaining your way out of every one of my questions, which is really good. You've got the answers, but your answers to me feel like you're just tacking more complication onto an already complicated system.
All I want to do is, instead of building the character and then walking back as to why I have these skills and things, build the character and then apply the skills and the spells and the things and the reasoning for it from that. And I get you saying classless, but then you go to a classless system. When was the last time you had a decently balanced CR system in a classless system?
When was the last time I had a decently balanced CR system? Period.
Really? It's that bad at D&D too?
Yeah.
Oh. I didn't know. See, the main reason I wanted to stay in D&D is because like, if I'm doing all of this stuff,
this CR
then
system?
I would like to have the
Fuck
CR
no, man.
already built for me, so I don't have to worry about that complication. I'll just deal with this,
no.
and then because the fourth ed didn't seem that
Look,
bad.
Fourth ed was bad too.
The only thing you had to be careful in fourth ed is how many minions versus how many full-scale creatures am I adding to make
I
the
can't
math.
speak for experience from 4th edition, but go look at the forums, and you will learn...
But everybody was complaining about fourth ed before they even played it, so I'm not...
No. Those bitchings aside, I've looked deeper into it. The CR system...
It collapses after, like, level 6? I don't know.
I think it's actually... It's I think, 8 or 9, but...
Oh, really?
It does suddenly...
I was wondering how it was good, because...
No, it's good for this first chunk, where it's like, yeah. And then it's like, so either the encounter, which you built exactly the way we've told you, is going to be way too hard, or it's going to be way too easy, and there's no middle ground.
There's, depending on what abilities are used when, how, and...
It's suddenly, like, the swing becomes so massive. But yeah, no, even in 3.5, I mean, think about Damien's game. How many times, not all the other deaths, but how many games have you been in from Damien where it was party wipe to Ogre Barbarians?
Yeah, but Ogre Barbarians are like a way CR above what we should be fighting. Because they're ogres with class levels of barbarians.
Here's the thing. In the CR system, in the book itself, they're listed 2 CRs lower than they actually should be. It is just a very blatant failure of that CR system. And that those... inconsistencies and failures run through the entire set of monster manuals.
Well, another thing too,
the
is
entire
I think that
monster manual
some
2
of the
is
CR
garbage.
where it's like your CR for this creature is like it should be like a 7, but it's actually a 5 because there's this really bad flaw it has. Except if your players don't know about that flaw, or they don't have access to the thing that will help them with that flaw, then it's 2 CR higher. Like. But that's the DM's job, isn't it, in a fashion, to make sure that those conditions are present for it to bring that CR down? Well, not really, I guess.
It can be, but it can't be. If I present the thing and I made sure that there were plenty of opportunities for you before you got into the dungeon to get to that information, y'all just were like, whatever.
We're good. We'll just, murk it.
Yeah, then what can I do? On the other hand, there were some rules that were very vague. Like in 3rd edition versus 3.5, there was the issue with vampire monks. The vampire's touch attack never.
Sorry, I'll be quiet.
The vampire's touch attack never specified in the original writing that it had to only energy drain on a slam attack, which is very different from just a standard unarmed attack. You can't flurry of blows if you're slamming. You have one option or the other. So there are tons of DMs that would flurry. Yeah, it could be that one freaking vampire monk could roll up to your tank
and kill everybody.
And since he's only doing touch attacks, since he's punching you, he'd come up and your barbarian, not your barbarian, your big tanky fighter with huge AC doesn't matter. And in the first round, he hits you 4 times, and now the fighter's down 4 levels.
Yeah. I was at level 5. I'm now at level 1. Yeah, you were. And now I'm going to smack you one more time and kill you.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to make my way to the rest of your crew.
So there's always...
Actually, a vampire monk should be higher CR than that anyway, though. So.
No, the CR on it, if the ability is used correctly, the CR is good. If you are allowing it to flurry of blow, energy drain,
it's like a 17
it's
CR.
like a 17, 18.
It's a crazy.
And at that point,
Vampiric monk versus lich. You're nothing all over again.
What, the lich?
Now you're just a dead level 1 wizard.
No, it doesn't work because it's energy drain. It needs to be done to a living creature.
That seems just a little unfair, don't you think?
What, you think it's going to draw life essence out of an undead
There's
creature?
some kind of essence in the creature that should be able to be drawn out.
I guess
is there some thing that does dead essence?
I guess if he was sitting there tapping the phylactery.
No, I'm saying is there like a dead essence or something that you like? There's energy there. We're saying that there's life energy in us, right? And that's why vampiric touch works. But there's energy in that lich. That's why there's power. That's why he can suck things out. The thing is
drawing out of you is positive energy.
Why?
Life.
So negative energy. That's where it gets its power from. I should be able to pull that negative energy out and steal his levels too, right? It only makes sense. It's ridiculous not to.
That is.
He's super powerful. They're talking about you're taking the soul life essence. So maybe the phylactery. Maybe you're right. Maybe he has to be like punching the phylactery. Like
I said, I'd be more keen to give it to you on the lich if it were just sitting there
on the phylactery,
finger tapping the phylactery.
No.
But that's the thing. I mean, if anyone's messing with the lich's phylactery, he's highly susceptible because that's where his soul is.
I'm putting out your levels. Can you imagine that? A level 1 lich.
Yeah, I mean, I've had someone who was like, I wanted to play a lich, and I was like, well, we're starting at level 1. You can't be a lich, and he's like, well, that's kind of what I wanted to play. I'm like, okay, so what?
Make a lich level 1.
So what you're telling me is really you want to play an intelligent undead who's a spellcaster. All right, do you want to be like a zombie spellcaster, or do you want to be a skeleton spellcaster?
I want to be a lich, which is a wizard spellcaster who is undead, who is neither skinless or muscleless.
Okay. Well, actually, liches over time become just skeletons. So
they both.
Well, yeah, no. So I was like, okay, you're. I mean, that would be an interesting. No, that would be an interesting
phylactery.
Concept.
Actually, that's the phylactery.
The picture could be a phylactery.
Yeah. Well, actually, it is for Dorian Gray.
But
you show the picture, you kill Dorian Gray.
But no, like it could be an interesting concept where the guy turned himself into a lich, and now he's focusing on transmutation magics to make sure that the body, even though dead,
stays
maintains.
Yeah.
Like that'd be an interesting character concept. But no, so either way, I just was like, okay, you have a phylactery, you're a level 1 wizard. You just have to
dies, you die. But other than that, you're fine.
Yeah,
you'll come back no matter what.
The only difference I made,
you're carrying your phylactery with you because you're an adventurer who doesn't have a home base yet.
Yeah.
So,
the biggest difference I made is where a lich recovers in like 1d12 hours or something like that. I was like, no, you 1d20 days.
Yeah, that makes sense though.
So
we found a way. I'm like, we're gonna make this work for.
Yeah, so you can make lots of things work. I just again.
Like I want to bring 1001 Arabian Nights. I want to bring those moments in my life when I was touched by fantasy. You know what I mean? Where my mind was just peeled back. Like the first time I read Hobbits.
I get your idea.
And he's going up to the camp with the 3 of them, right? And I'm just like, I never read that. I never watched any cartoon shows before that moment about that kind of fantasy realm.
I get your idea.
You know what I mean?
I think you could present it different. I think you could present it differently. I think allowing spellcasters to a certain degree is still okay. I think that your natural spellcasters, your sorcerers, shit like that you should probably get rid of. And then for your wizards, hyper limit the spells they can get access to, because that way you can also still deliver that awesome fantasy. Because fucking, you're talking about Tolkien, right? They had a wizard. Yeah. He just very rarely did anything wizardly.
Yeah, and he was also 1,000 million years old, and he represented like the old knowledge of world. Also, fly you fools. Seriously, did you hear about that theory on fly you fools?
Yeah, go out and get on the bird so you can get that.
And then you just go straight to Mordor, you drop the ring in and the story's over. I heard that, I was like, oh crap. Was that real? It would make sense.
But yeah, no, I think limited access to magic would still be acceptable. That way you open up the pool of character options. And that way, let's say you do have a wizard in the party, where everyone else is playing a young character, you go, your character.
Oh yeah,
your character's a wizard. You have to be
45 or older.
Yeah, you have to be an old man already.
What?
Okay.
You know what? I want to be a young.
And,
no, you can't.
And on top of that, you know, the book has this list of spells, but because your school only has access to this smaller list, this is the pool you have to pick from.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, okay, there might be 1 or 2 really cool options there, but the other ones, which are actually utility useful ones.
So force somebody to actually play a mage the way they should, which is not getting nothing but combat. That's kind of what like I said. I don't even mind there being small things, but it would still be like I like the world being a world where if you did that and brought flame into your finger, actually they might think it's a parlor trick. Like if they were gonna kill you over it, you could probably trick them into going, no, it's just this parlor tricks. Yeah, flash paper and it does that.
I'm just saying, realistically with D&D, even if you're playing low magic,
Well, the idea is I want the world
even
to be
on
high.
No, outside. I
huge
get
fantasy
eventually the magic is crazy, but the thing is, you're tightening it. You're clamping it
here.
so tight.
Just for like the first 3 to 5 levels.
Yeah,
somewhere
but
there.
the first 3 to
over
5
a 20
levels.
level campaign.
First off, before you start planning a 20 level campaign, run 10 level one. One. You haven't done it yet.
Okay.
Do you know how hard it is just to get to 10th level?
Yeah, I haven't got there in my life as a player. So yeah,
5th level?
I've gotten to 7th
Yeah.
from first. That's the most
you've gotten
we ever
higher
went.
than 7.
No, that's the most we ever went. Dead serious. That's the
No,
most I've ever went.
we dropped a lot of games.
Yeah.
But no, seriously, I like the idea, but still, like, with your core idea, either you're going to hyper complicate options, which I'm like, oh, it's cool, I've got an option, except for I really don't. Oh, I want this spell or I want this, then I have to give up any other ability to customize my character to solely pick up this.
Yeah, but its ability is insane. Like, if you have to like bless. Wait, so I have to have knowledge religion in order to get bless? Okay, well look what bless does. No one else has that, and you're fighting humans. Dig? You're not fighting magic creatures with magical shit. And by the time you get to the point where you're fighting magical creatures with magical shit, I've given you magic. Or I've started unfolding that magic and giving you more power, so you actually can compete against those things. Because you're going to be fighting a myriad of non-leveled...
Let's just... For shits and kicks... Cleric cantrips. There aren't many of them. Okay?
Yeah.
I
I had to come up for a reason for how all of these can be real.
Yeah. Because the thing is, this person can do these at will. He can just...
Yeah, because they're abilities that he has. Like, I can put a tourniquet on you, Steve, at will.
Mm-hmm. Which would be spare the dying. That's a good one. That's easy, right?
Or clotting blood, or whatever is needed to spare that particular dying person.
Yeah, but okay.
General
so
trauma
aid. So guidance, which is your ability to ask your god to help you with a task.
So what is the response mechanically for it?
I get a bonus to any skill check that I'm making.
Inner focus. You take the time to actually focus since you've been trained by praying and have the willpower and a way to clear your mind. You're now able to inner focus, which allows you to approach that new situation with a better focus, and therefore you get an improvement on it. Meditation, pretty much.
Okay, so but I can do it in 6 seconds.
You're really, really attuned to getting into meditative state.
Okay.
You excel.
Light.
You cast light. I got I don't know, E.T. I got nothing. I got nothing for light. I don't know what you want from me.
I don't know what you want. That's the problem.
Light's off the list. Get a damn torch like every other human.
Okay. So you just...
It's not reasonable for a natural, normal human to be able to do that.
Why not?
Does light shoot out of your ass, Steve?
No, but I'm not in tune with God.
Yeah, I know. Well, you're in tune with God in ways that God won't pronounce that you're in tune with God. Like the God in this world that might be. That would be the God that exists in this realm of world. Because everything's been drawn out. The power of this realm.
Resistance.
That would probably be an always-on thing, honestly. At least for you. I don't know how you give someone else... you could give them resistance through increasing their will.
You're going to make it always on?
Always on, just for the main character. But no. Actually, you could probably do it through like a speech to somebody else. A speech to somebody else, or giving it...
Sacred Flame.
That's another...
I
make without a combustible, without something...
holy fire jump onto a person.
Without an actual physical item that you're expending, because that also takes away from reality. If I can, what it is you put this thing in a bottle and then you throw it on them, and that's holy flame, or radiant flame, or whatever. Well, that doesn't really work because eventually I run out of bottles.
Oh, see now you do actually bring up an interesting point. To help drive home your ideas. Actually enforce spell components.
That was one of the things I was going to do.
Now, in that regard...
Not for every spell.
You should do it forever. If you're gonna do it,
Very,
do it.
very, like Featherfall. Yes, you will. You better have a feather on you, or you better have whatever those reagents are on you. But you're gonna be taught those things, and since you're gonna be a person who really only has like a handful of spells, and some of them are gonna be very powerful, you're gonna know to keep that, and I can keep the power in check based on how often I give you reagent access. That was the hope. But you're right. Like I ain't got nothing for Radiant Flame, unless it's reagents, and the reagents are what are the reagents, Steve?
That's what
the reagents. No, I got what the reagents are. It's a flask of holy water that's been actually like spiked with like it's really ether, and a rag, and it's called a Molotov cocktail.
So now I have to expend 50 gold every time I want to cast Sacred Flame. That's
no, because you have access to that holy water for a lot cheaper. Steve, think about it this way, though. It's a thrown attack without using your dex. Because you use the spell. The technique that was taught to you how to
It's a dexterity
properly
save from the other person, and the components for that one are literally just shaky hand.
That's what I thought.
God loves you. God hates you.
That's the problem I have with it. See, you have to do it without reagents because you can do that flame. You can do Sacred Flame while you're handcuffed.
No.
Thing.
You have to do hand.
Well, no, I know, but like say you're cuffed to a wall somewhere. You could do the hand thing you need and cast Sacred Flame without reagents. So you'd have to find a way to.
I mean, you could make the argument that someone cuffed to a wall couldn't. You
you're
could
strapped
make that
to
argument.
a wall, but your hands are free. I'm not trying to get into the argument about the hands thing. What I'm saying is you don't have access to your goods, therefore you can't grab your goods and get the holy water and the flask and all this or whatever it is. It's praying to God. So for it to be used, it would have to be like I can just do it, but I can't figure out how to make that reasonably.
So again, it becomes this really weird area.
It's almost like a different game. You're right. It really is. Because
That's why
down.
I keep
Well, no,
saying...
but the thing is though, I'm scaling down all the bad guys already. Because all the bad guys in the first area are going to be human.
Sure.
Which means they're going to be either have class levels on them.
It's going to create this weird dichotomy, right? Where I have to go, 1 second, guys, flask, holy water, shove the fucking little scripture in there, shake, throw, where another dude just goes, Bahamut hates you. Bahamut hates you. Bahamut hates you. And I'm like, fuck, man, my God is a piece of shit. I'm going to go worship Bahamut.
No, but that's not going to happen, though.
Why not? You said eventually the magic gets ridiculous.
Oh, yeah, no, eventually, but by then you are access to that divinity if you're a cleric, and therefore, like, I will give you
my
an
God
improved...
suddenly became more powerful?
Your cantrip levels up? No, your understanding of the world and that, like, you had faith, but now you're in a position where, like, all of the legends are real? Do you understand how much stronger your faith is almost unquestionable now? Oh, like, no, I know my God exists.
I'm being empowered by my God in any means,
when you're throwing a holy flask full of oil and a rag, does that really feel like you've been empowered by your God so far?
So then...
Since you've stripped out the divinity, when I hand you the divinity, you feel the divinity. That's what I'm trying to say, like...
Okay. I guess. That seems like
it's a lot of hard work to get it done.
It doesn't jive for me. If I had to shake a fucking Molotov cocktail together, I'm not saying that it won't jive for other people. I'm saying for me, it just doesn't work.
Does Sacred Flame level up? Does your cantrip level up as you level up?
Sure, at 5th level. Yeah, okay. At certain levels, it becomes more potent.
So what we're talking about now is you not only does it become no potent, but I'm going to... Now that reagent requirement that's dirt cheap for you and all that is gone. And now when you go back to the human realm... Put yourself against every other person in that realm when you go back to play there.
Okay.
You get
I don't know.
Saying?
It just
like when you go,
it doesn't.
Like,
it doesn't
he hates
appeal
you,
to me, dude.
Everyone is going to be like, "Holy shit, let's pray!" Like the amount of power you get from that, you know.
I get what you're saying. It doesn't feel good to me. It doesn't feel like it'll be fun. It feels hyper complicated because now. You said no cost, but that means I always have to have my pack because I always have to have flasks.
That's the problem
I always have to have
so
holy
water. So you can't
water.
do it when you're captured, and it's supposed to be something that's a cantrip that can be done at any point.
So, like...
Yeah. But the other clerics in the world, they're not going to be clerics. Level 1 cleric.
Well, yeah,
the clerics you encounter are just going to be like... That monk with a mace, and not monk. I mean, like European monk with a mace.
But I already do that. In my world,
it's one of the
you
inspirations.
guys have churches
where
there
there are no clerics. I know that's one of the inspirations for the idea behind it. That low magic worlds that I've seen before, and things like any inspiration I have for a role playing game, almost 80% of it's coming from you. And all I'm trying to do is take what I've seen and go, oh, I really like this aspect. Let me delve further into that idea, and okay, yeah, no, clerics are almost non-existent. Like mages, when you ask me about it, like mages. There's a handful of them in the world, and they probably work for kings or are kings themselves because they use that magic to get there.
You've already,
and that might be a level 3. But seriously,
if there's no one else doing it,
exactly.
I get that. But when you are delivering that, the problem becomes you either do not allow the players any magic, which would mean that you have fighters, rogues, and barbarians.
I still don't understand how a ranger can't be...
Because a ranger has spells, a bard has spells. They have spells, and you don't want spells.
Yeah, I know, but like a bard. Some of those spells can just be inspiration-based will things.
You really want to... I will play this game because the last time we had this conversation...
So right now, if you're just tuned in... which I don't think anybody has yet, but if you have, or you're in this video, or you skipped ahead to this exact spot, we're going to go through the spells for Bard, and we're going to determine if any of them can be turned into non-magical abilities.
Blade Ward.
What does Blade Ward do?
I believe it helps you ward against blades, but I'll look it up.
What the fuck does ward against blades even mean?
I don't know.
Plus 2 AC against bladed instruments.
I'm looking it up.
Yeah. Plus 2 AC against bladed instruments.
Blade. I don't know how to spell, apparently.
It's a cantrip, right? It's plus 2 AC.
It's a cantrip.
Plus 2.
Blade Bear? No, Blade Ward.
It's a cantrip.
Blade Ward.
Plus 2 at max of AC.
You extend your hand and trace a sigil of warding in the air. Until the end of your next turn, you have resistant. It makes it so you take half damage.
From swords.
From bludgeoning, piercing, slashing weapons.
And how in the does that be blade?
Yeah, I don't know.
See, they don't even name their shit right.
I don't know, but
what
okay.
Heck,
so Blade Ward.
Blade Ward. You do this with your hand in a way that you know will distract your opponent, and he won't be able to hit you as hard because he's fucking confused as to why you're doing this. Round 1.
So how does that stop anyone else from shaking their hand? No.
Because you know how to mess with people's minds.
Dancing lights.
Dancing lights.
It gives you several...
You have some firework reagents in your pocket.
That you can shift in and out and control the movement of, and they float with you.
Yeah, actually, yeah, because you use a complicated system of mirrors, and you have a hazer, a fog machine just offset, and then you just
Okay, so friends.
Yeah, that one's cut, obviously. Friends, you have in sunny disposition. All of a sudden,
you can make someone be friendly with you, but they know you did something to them to force it. Light.
Again, we went through light.
Mage hand.
Well, no, wait. You said why can't everybody use light? Apparently, everybody can. So it's not.
Yeah. Everyone I think pretty much has light, but okay. Mage hand.
Yeah, that's one of the ones that can't happen.
Mending.
But real quick, when you don't have access to Mage Hand and you get access to Mage Hand, who actually uses Mage Hand as often as they should? As often as it really could be used? Nobody, because they don't appreciate it.
They don't appreciate it, you're right.
That's all I want, I want people to appreciate Mage Hand. If I set up a thing, there could be a trap and a puzzle system in a dungeon at 5th level that could be solved in 5 seconds with Mage Hand, and not one person will go, Mage Hand.
If you want people to appreciate it, take away the other spells and let them be things that you can find in dungeons, on enemies' corpses, and things like. Don't cut all magic.
I'm not. Well, I'm
you
not.
You are.
I'm trying to find a way to just say that magic is something that can happen naturally, and not naturally because you're born into it. Naturally because you, in some point in time, trained in your life to be able to do these things, which explains your class.
Then run Fantasy Trip. Run World of Darkness. Run classless systems.
But then that means you only get the spell, you get Cure Light Wounds once you have 4 dots in healing.
Okay, no, that's World of Darkness. But you know what? We can go through this book and convert every one of those spells into a World of Darkness ritual, and we can scale it appropriately. It's possible.
Why can't we just do it?
But you're already doing so much work. You're already changing so much. You're taking a rote knowledge that all of your players have, and you're going, let me take and strike it with a hammer.
It's a brand new rote.
It's a 5-year-old game.
Not for me, really. It's the
Well,
third
just
time
because
I've
you're
played it.
stepping into
And
it
even
late.
3.5, like what did it being rote knowledge do besides turn into big arguments
Turn
over
into
what
giant-
is being
yeah.
interpreted?
I'm
You
just
know?
saying, like, if you want what you're trying to deliver,
I'm
there
saying,
are.
if we can turn them into vampire thing, like dot
Sure.
system, why can't you just turn them in? Find a way to make certain ones natural, like naturally, because you have to do that in the vampire thing anyway.
I never said that you couldn't make them natural. I'm saying that you're almost forcibly limiting, or you're adding so much extra attachment to getting certain abilities that it just.
I get what you're saying on, like, it's like cleric, like healing and all that, but in my mind it's like if you were a cleric, like if you were any magic using spell and you got to the point where you were able to do some of those things.
Shit, I've
might be
played
because
clerics
you
that don't
studied.
have cure light wounds. Not that they. I mean, that's the weird thing. Like a cleric. No, here's the extra thing with cleric. You know all the spells.
All of them. Yeah.
You know all of them. Like there's no. Well, yeah. It's just you can only remember or use this many. Today.
Well, this is the thing too. In my mind, if you're a cleric and you're you're getting divine, but like that mage has this spell, and that's classless. Never mind, it is classless. Because I was like, well, there's no reason that if you were inclined to be able to understand how that worked, that he couldn't teach you this massive spell.
Sure, there is.
You don't have the energy with which to produce it.
Yeah.
Well, you know the spell though. That means if you ever did train and study enough in the arts,
sure.
you could
Yeah,
get it.
in
You'd have it.
theory, yeah.
Yeah.
You could have a wizard teach you a night. Seriously, right now, I could. Well, actually, the rules don't allow.
I just don't have
it.
a spell slot for it.
Yeah.
Much. I have the spell. I just don't.
I mean,
I have a 9th level. I have
shit.
miracle. I have miracle as a level 1 wizard. I can never use it because I don't have a spell slot for it. But I have it. I know exactly what I need to do to make it happen.
But that's the other thing, especially using 5th edition. You're going to cut the magic. We're just talking about the spells. We're not even talking about class abilities for cleric. They have channel divinity.
Yeah.
The channel divinity is magic as fuck too.
Well, I'm just trying to think like okay, every class in D&D has two, like not class. Every name has two sides. Like ranger, right? When I say ranger to you in D&D, I could be saying ranger, the class ranger, or ranger, a guy who lives out in the woods and hunts shit.
Yeah. No,
and now, out of all of these
course.
rangers, there's a handful that will be this ranger.
Sure.
And all I'm saying
But
is like,
here's the thing: when I sit down, right? When I, as the player, sit down and I pick up,
no, that you're not going to be making the character that way.
I'm not going to pick up a book and make the character.
No, you're going to be making it with me.
Okay. So when I sit down and I tell you, John.
Oh, can you pass me that? I'm going to need it while you're doing that.
Oh, shit. Please.
Okay, so what do you want to play?
I'm going to play Paladin.
You want to play Paladin? Okay. Let me get over to Paladin real quick. It's going to take a second because, we're going to have to find a way to make this work together that both of us are happy with. And I'm sure somebody out there might get butthurt somewhere else in the party.
I actually have no idea how Paladins work because I've never played it.
That's
What's
great.
up, Anton? How you doing, bud?
Hey,
We're having a
Anton.
little bit of a bitch fit right now.
Well, here's the idea. I want to create a low magic, no magic world.
Oh boy, I hope we didn't
Which
lose
actually
this guy.
has a ton of magic available late game.
Awesome.
And so I'm trying to find a way, like, to convince this man that I can take any class and at least some of the abilities transfer them down.
I don't think that Paladin gets spells at first level, so this is probably going to be really easy.
It's going to be really easy. See, look at that. Like, it's easier than you think it is. Okay.
We're doing good, Anton.
So,
is it before we jump into this? Is
Oh,
there
hi,
anything
Anton.
you want to
if you want to talk
man?
about anything, please. Like, we're more than willing to discuss some things. We're familiar with White Wolf, and right now we're running 5th Ed D&D. Plus, we're running a Star Wars 5th Ed mod that's like a homebrew Star Wars. It's actually
That's
pretty
okay.
interesting.
Sometimes coming up with topics is
yeah,
crazy
it's-
hard,
yeah.
so we just sit here and talk until we get into a tangent like this.
Yeah, because we started talking about orders and their use in game, and we ended up talking about a campaign idea I've had here. So, making a paladin in a no magic world.
All right, so really, instead of
Divine
telling you I
sense.
want to play a paladin, what I really want to play is a knight.
You want to play a
I
knight.
wanna play
See,
a
now
knight.
that's easier for us to make because then I can mix and match certain things. It just becomes a balancing problem. But let's use paladin for right now for this example of how we can find. So we have divine sense.
We're from Texas, man. Where are you from? Divine sense.
Yeah, we're in
that lets
Texas.
me detect undeads, dragons.
Yeah,
shit
it says
like that.
presence of strong evil is on your senses like a noxious odor. The actual mechanic is
That's what's up. Sweden.
Oh, nice, dope.
It's
Celestial
what?
Fiend Undead.
It's like midnight by you guys right now, isn't it?
Is
Go ahead
he
and
in
keep
Sweden?
talking.
He's from Sweden. But is he
Well,
in
yeah.
Sweden?
I mean, you said you're from. It's 1 a.m. He's in Sweden.
Yeah. So you automatically celestial fiend or undead. You can sense their presence, but like you don't know who the particular undead is. Should
That
it be
one's
one?
easy to sell off. It just means that you get weird vibes around certain things.
Yeah, and you can only use this feature a number of times equal to +1. I can that. It's always on. You ever since you were born, you've had this innate
Does
ability.
it actually tell you exactly where they're at or not?
Where?
No, in that ability. Yeah, it's actually today hasn't been too bad by us. In American, it was 88. So what is that in the Europe in the
How hot it was?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know what that is in Celsius. I am from a school system that failed me by never teaching me the metric system as much as it should have.
My grandparents in Germany actually said it was pretty hot over there.
It was 31.1 degrees Celsius today, which is actually really nice and cool.
36. Woo.
Oh my goodness, that's actually
35.
No,
Woo.
that's still
It's 90s.
that's 95. That's what it's going to be on Monday when we go back to work.
That'll be fun.
We just started working on a tree farm where we were transplanting and
That'll be fun.
side to this, and it's pretty hot out there. Man, 35 in Sweden and south of Sweden by like a whole hot minute. I know we had a cold front move in, but that just seems.
All right, what's next on the lineup, man?
Lay on hands.
Lay on hands.
Your
Okay.
blessed touch can heal wounds.
The healing, which you could sell off with the you know how to, but now.
Why is lay on hands different than?
Why is
the
lay
other
on hands different than cure wounds?
You don't. You throw them all in the same.
So
And then it makes it less unique.
I have to be forced to have healing as a skill, So if I want to be a paladin knight, now I also have to, by your recommendation, also ensure that I use one of my skill proficiencies to have medicine.
But what if you said you want to be a knight? That's why we're going to pick paladin. Well, actually, what we do is what's the closest thing to a knight that a human would be in the real world in classes?
A fighter.
A fighter. So you have no problem starting with a fighter.
So we go back to fighter,
then
cavalier.
And then I slowly give you paladin abilities as you get into the magic, like divine smite and things. As the other players are progressing into their understanding that magic does exist outside of where you start, the paladin begins to get a more divine connection, and then I can give you.
Okay, so essentially, what you're talking about, and I've seen
Just
this.
slow
No, I've
rolling
seen this concept. Essentially, once we get into the area where it would be possible, essentially you go, well, you can keep your fighter levels and then progress as a paladin, or we can slowly start converting your fighter levels into paladin.
Or
levels.
since you bared with me through this entire thing playing a fighter, I can just give you some of these paladin things in the low end, and then now you have the choice of. So you already have some of the low end paladin things, but now you have the choice of actually getting the main paladin grit by going into the class.
Again, I mean, it's a neat idea.
Yeah.
Now you're again finding yourself right
So
up
your
against.
dog was pretty hot. I hope you kept him hydrated.
You're finding yourself right
What
up
type of
against the.
dog?
Oh.
This is a black dog. I mean, like, what breed, I wonder?
You find yourself against the idea of maintaining balance, and it's almost like what you're wanting to do now. You remember in 3rd edition the thing where the Gestalt character, where you would be two different classes at the same time.
Yeah.
And this is the realm you're moving into, which can be interesting, but at the same time, you're only talking about maybe running this once, right?
Probably, yeah. Unless it crashes, burns, and then I had to readjust it.
So
and run it
the
again.
thing is, if you get it to start to
What
work,
kind of dog?
I'm sure if you get it to start to work, you'll have creative players who will understand a certain degree of metagame, which you know exists, and they go, okay, well, I know that he'll start rolling these abilities in, so I just have to start playing in this particular direction, because I know that these two things.
Those people could probably screw off, because really, like, what did we just do here? You sat down and talked to me, and I'm finding a way to give you what you want to play.
Sure.
So you should know that later you can do this. Well,
but
eventually I want to be this. Okay, we'll find a path for that.
Here's the thing, though. You know that even within our group of friends, that there are people who fall exactly into the category that I'm talking to.
This game would only be run with you and Joey so far that I know of. And maybe Austin at this point. Like, seriously. Like, I wouldn't run this with little D. Are you out of your dang mind? And they can watch that and they can hate me later for it. But I would need somebody who is so wanting to just play the character. What did you say? What do you want to play? After you realized Paladin wasn't the right word. You did the perfect thing. I want to play a knight. You picked what the character wants to be, not what the class system is saying he has to be.
Alright, so it's a mutt. There's nothing wrong with mutts.
Oh, yeah, man.
Mutts are perfect.
My favorite is, my friend has a koi dog, which is a coyote having bred with a dog, and it is one of the most intelligent dogs I've ever met in my life. I really want a bone from it after it passes away so I can clone it, because
you're crazy.
If the apocalypse ever occurs, it's the type of dog I can train to open doors and look for mines. I'm serious about that. It really is that smart. But the idea would be like I want the idea to be something where
I get the idea. Yeah. It's just
so like if somebody comes to me
adding these layers of complexity. I'd say layers of complexity, and I'm a hypocrite for saying it because
really I'm just stripping down most of the glasses.
What?
Really, I'm just stripping down most of the classes.
You're
like
stripping.
You
you're stripping down classes, but I've had plenty of times where players have come to me, like this is what I want for my character eventually. In my Friday game, Austin, you mentioned Austin. Yeah. Austin came to me and he's like, my character's eventual goal is to become a lich. I found a way to make that happen by 10th level. Not that he was driving towards it like headlong.
But he was like, hey, what can we work together on to make something happen?
And it became a thing. And he is a lich, but really, he's a very downscaled thing. And I've slowly been piecemealing.
But it gives him the story he wants and the story you're finding a way to help. And that's all I want to do. I just want to let everybody, like I said.
The problem is, while you're talking about it, and the ideas that you have, they're not bad ideas. They're bad deliveries.
Anton, do you play D&D by chance?
But the thing
I'm going to get him on my side.
That's fine. But it's your story. What about my story?
Oh, no. Your story. Well, but this is the thing. Real quick, Steve. Are you really playing your story when you say I want to play a paladin class? Or are you playing your story when you say I want to be a knight?
I was doing it more when I said I want to be a knight.
Okay.
But how do you say I want to be a warlock?
A witch. Like they exist in this world. Warlocks existed in the real world, didn't they? So that's what you are. How do we find a way to turn that into a character? What skill sets would they have?
That warlock is, which is what I want, is not necessarily the same thing as this.
Well, you don't get what you want on day one. You don't start off as a knight at level 1 fighter, right? I will give you warlock. Trust me, you'll get there. There will be a pact with something that you found in this realm. But how do I figure out which prestige I want to go? Well, I don't know. Did you pick the guy that offered you the deal in the Fey realm?
I don't necessarily care about that part.
But yeah, I can give you warlock. But here's the thing: how much better would warlock be if you played it from the moment that you didn't even, where you were only able to do a couple little tiny things that you never showed anybody anyway because it wasn't worth it because they didn't do anything. Like I can do sparkling lights. But if I do it, that mob might kill me.
No, it would be more interesting, honestly, if I was one of the 3 classes that you've really realistically reduced the game down to, and then we kill someone and I pick an item up, or we go into a dungeon or a cave, and then I pick an item up, and all of a sudden my dreams start having someone talk to me, and all of a sudden...
Yeah, and you play out becoming a warlock.
No, that would
and then you play out the power of warlock.
That would be interesting, but the thing is, that really...
It's hard to do the first 3 levels or 5 levels of, because...
No, actually, this one I could...
How do you get that guy to fight somebody without dying in the first 3 or 4 levels?
This one I can be sold on, because the thing is, I'm not going to be a warlock at first level. If we're doing it for story purposes, first off, I probably told you, like, again, we've talked about this before, and I said, hey, since you're limiting magic, since you're literally starting the game, limiting us to essentially 3 classes, which you keep disagreeing with. I don't think so. But since you're limiting us to 3 classes, essentially, you can disagree, but that is what it is. I told you before, ask your players, if you were to eventually be able to multi-class into something more interesting, something magical, could you give me 2 examples of what your character might?
What you might?
Not necessarily that even any of those are going to hold muster. Eventually,
You might change.
you guys might go into a forest, and the fighter, who really hasn't been a nature-loving hippie the entire time, is presented with story elements that suddenly make him
druidically...
go, "Holy crap! We're just destructive to nature." And I do. Yeah, but the thing is, that guy told you honestly. I mean, I'm playing a fighter. And I mean, if the opportunity opens up, I'm kind of looking like I'd like to be a cleric maybe, or I don't know.
We see the way you're saying it right
wizard.
now. It's already despondent.
No, okay, I'm being despondent, but no, like he says, eventually I'd either like to be a wizard or.
There's 2 ways to go druid. It's like you just said. Somebody's already there and goes, "Oh my God, this magical land of forest, blah blah blah," and these people just showed me this image of what humans used to do to the forest.
But
we need
that's
to bring this
no,
back.
That's your opportunity just to present your setting. But then what I'm saying is, if you have these 2 options from every person, you can also start building. Okay, I know that one of my players, or maybe even 2 of my players, might want to be a warlock. So now I know that somewhere in there, eventually, I should probably seed an item that could lead to an otherworldly patron.
I don't need
and then on top of that,
like if I put you in the Fey realm, then you might come across the Fey demon.
That also is an option. But the thing is, if you know that one person definitely wants to be a warlock, and then you go, well, what kind of warlock? Just in case, because not everyone wants to be an ancient or the archfey fucking warlock, which really is not my favorite warlock anyways. But so you suddenly find yourself with these extra options, and then you can still have your awesome opportunity for the archfey encounter. But if no one bites on that,
if no one bites on the Fey, it doesn't happen. What I'm trying to say though is like when you said with Knight, like you want to be a warlock. When you say I want to be a warlock, are you saying I want to be a warlock class, or are you saying I want to be a guy who is a warlock?
I'm saying I want to be a warlock class. Okay. But the thing is, to stop. When you ask the question, so you have the idea of this and that, it allows you to do more of this, because you know that those are things they're interested in. Yeah. So now you can start looking at both of those classes and go, well, I can't give you everything, but I could give you this neat little thing from Bard and that neat little thing from Warlock. I could even tie them both up into the one. Yeah,
that's what I'm talking about. Probably doing actually. It's like we're going to create what Warlock means outside of this book, based on what you kind of want.
Again, I'm almost saying if you're already doing all of that,
a druid. What are you at level 1?
Shit, I don't.
You're a guy with a gnarled staff who walks around and really likes trees. Bonk, bonk, bonk. You're a shitty fighter. You're a crappy fighter, probably.
Actually, you can turn into an animal. You turn into an animal from first level.
Which is... Exactly. So what I have to do in exchange, because that's a big CR boost to a character.
Not really.
The ability to change into an animal in combat or something.
It gives them more hit points.
But I'm just saying, I have to find something to balance that isn't magical. You know what I mean? That's not insanely crazy or something.
I don't know. I don't know.
Like, you get what I'm saying? Like,
but we're well over our time.
Oh yeah, we're heck over our time. So I went off on this tangent about 30 minutes ago. We were already over our time when I went on this tangent.
Yeah, you were.
So, you guys have a lovely night. I'm going to keep pressing Steve on this.
I'm going to keep disagreeing.
Over and over again until he gets it right. No, because I've already improved. Oh, sorry, guys. Sorry. I've already improved upon the idea from the last few times we talked. Because I realized there's certain things
improve portions of it every time, but my standpoint will always be...
classless.
Go to a classless system. It makes more sense.
Except it's not D&D.
Doesn't have to be.
And you lose everything. Because D&D is all fantasy.
Oh, of course.
You see that dragon?
All right, so this has been Steve and
John.
And we're the Bullcritter's Corner. Y'all have a wonderful evening.